Dream Scenario stars Nicolas Cage and is directed by a certain individual whose name I can never remember. Christopher Borgley. I probably butchered that. This is an A24 film. And as you could tell, this is probably my second or third take of this, because I went off on a few tangents in this. I'm going to try not to do that this time. Nicolas Cage is fantastic in this film. He plays a college professor, a tenured college professor at this university, and he is a suburban dad. He's got a teenage daughter and a younger daughter, and he's in a middling relationship with his wife, and he's basically just he's just some guy. This picture depicts Nicolas Cage. What do you take away from this image? Well, I take an image, I see khakis, I see a long-sleeve shirt, he's balding, his beard's a little unkempt, he's got glasses, his eyes are kind of squinty. I don't really see too much life or ambition in that pose and that face. He's kind of accepted where he is in life. He doesn't really try to get out despite being dissatisfied with where he is. Yeah, he's just some guy. Well, in the film, he is just some guy. But there's something going on. Everybody seems to be having dreams of him. He's just showing up in their dreams as some guy. You were running from zombies during a zombie apocalypse, and you look to your left, and here he is raking leaves looking at you. He's not doing anything. He's just standing there. He's just raking his leaves, and he's looking at you. And that's just one of the many dreams that everybody has been having of Nicolas Cage. It's a fantastic little first act. It is great. I was engrossed for that first act. That second act, things start to happen that are a little bit aggravating, and during that third act, things just get very depressing for me. It was very depressing. While trying not to spoil this, I can say that you can watch this film from many different perspectives and take many different things away from it. Nicolas Cage's character may be uproariously funny, or he may come across as incredibly pitiful, or it may come across as relatable in some ways. I think there's a little bit of this some guy in all of us. We may see this some guy in all of our depictions of our perceived self. And going through all of that stuff, if you're a psychology person, you got Carl Jung here. We got the self versus the perceived self, the id, ego, superego, and dreams, and all of that stuff. If you're interested in any of that type of concept, any of these concepts, you might take away a little bit more of an enhanced viewing of Dream Scenario, because it does utilize some of those concepts in its narrative. If you watch some of the interviews, I wonder if there are a couple of them in here. I didn't actually watch any of the interviews, but there is an audio commentary with writer-director Christopher or Borgley. So I haven't really watched too many commentaries, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, but if you get this version, this Blu-ray version, the commentary comes with this copy. I would argue that you probably should watch the commentary after watching the film at least once, because Christopher Borgley's vision for Dream Scenario may end up being completely different from what you yourself take away from the film. Though I would argue that what you yourself personally take away from the film is more important, because at the end of the day, the director's vision is something that we should respect, but like I have said with like those 50 classic horror films that I've talked about, many of those directors are dead now. We can't really ask them how they intended that film to be viewed. at the end of the day, after so much time has passed, it's penultimately what you yourself take away from the film, because that's your experience. That's the most important part. But if you wish to learn and expand your view and see the director's view from the artist's perspective, you may come away with something completely elevated, if you will. I would go off on a 30-minute rant about that second and third acts and how some stuff in this film completely aggravated me. But I'm not going to. But there is one thing that I will say. Take a look at this. Jack has a cat. He dreams, Jack does. He dreams of Larry. He dreams of Larry killing his cat. Every night, Jack dreams of Larry killing his cat. But when Jack wakes up the next morning, his cat is perfectly fine. The cat's right at the foot of his bed, and he gets to cuddle and hug the cat. The cat's a cute cat. It's an adorable cat. Jack's cat is perfectly fine. Larry has actually never really met Jack's cat. Jack has actually never really met Larry. Jack finally meets Larry, and Larry is vilified by Jack. Jack wants nothing to do with Larry because he sees Larry killing his cat in his dream every night, even though his cat is perfectly fine. Jack shuns Larry in the waking world now. Do we agree with this? Is Jack shunning Larry okay? Is that fine? For a dream that Jack has had of Larry doing something, do we say that it is morally acceptable for Jack to shun Larry for this perceived grievance in a subconscious dream world? What if Larry is actually a really kind person and actually loves cats and has never harmed his cat in his life and probably never will? Is it okay for Jack and pretty much every cat owner ever to shun Larry and say that Larry should never have a cat? Larry can't go near cats. We don't want Larry anywhere near our cats because all of our uncomfortableness of dreaming about that. Read this scenario, like pay attention to that, and then watch dream scenario. I want to know what you think about that scenario. Does that scenario aggravate you? Do you agree with that scenario? Do you think both people are justified in their positions, that Jack is justified in wanting to have his own comfortableness and his own feeling of safety and security, even if that perceived insecurity isn't real, justified in reality, and that Larry isn't actually a danger to Jack? Jack is still justified in wanting his security, but Larry is still justified in not being vilified and treated like a monster when he's not. He's innocent, you know? It's like, this is a very complex and type of thing. Watch Dream Scenario, and you'll probably find something very similar happens in it. And that ending kind of really made me, it made me want to have a previous take of this review and rant for about 30 minutes. I'm not going to be releasing that version. This is the only version that you're going to get, but it was aggravating to me personally. Though I want to emphasize that this is not a bad movie just because I didn't end up enjoying myself near the end of the film. It's incredible acting by Nicolas Cage's part. I really want to emphasize that. I haven't seen a performance this good from Nicolas Cage since Pig. Pig isn't a fantastic film by Nicolas Cage. I would recommend Pig to anyone. It is phenomenal. It is incredible. It is low budget, of course, but and it's also pretty sad, but it is very good. In this film, you can feel the emotions on Nicolas Cage's features. You might take pity. You could take a very different reading from his performance, depending upon how you view the plot. Like, one scene, you could see him crying and feeling completely broken. Could you feel empathy towards that? Or do you feel pity towards that performance? Or are you angry and think that his character is faking this being completely a broken man? Or it is incredible how in depth they made this performance and this story. And I think if it were somebody else, some just average Joe, just some guy, in comparison to Nicolas Cage being this character, I don't know if it would have sold this performance as strongly as Nicolas Cage did. This is a perfect performance for Nicolas Cage, and I definitely would recommend Dream Scenario, even if you come out of the film feeling like crap.